Yo, we will automatically analyze Google results with automation to prepare content for your SEO, for your professional blog, for your posts on social networks, but also to track the competition's progress on a specific survey. So I show you step by step how to do it, the tools I use. I give you a demo. I also show you how to customize it. And the idea is that by the end of this video, you too can reproduce this and customize your own tool, which I have called here in English, SEO Content Strategist. But I also show you how you can translate all of this. I start the demo and then I explain the components one by one and we look at it together. So here we will search, for example, thermal camera. I did it there because I will also dub it in English. So I use the English terms, but obviously it works exactly the same regardless of the language. And I will show you how to do it. So there it started. So the idea is that it will retrieve the results from Google. If we type das category into Google, automatically it analyzes the results and then synthesizes them. So this really has plenty of very interesting business use cases. In the description of this video, you will find my contact information and all the tools we use, as well as the procedure and this famous workflow. A workflow is just an automation. To do this, so this tool we use is a tool called N8N. You have the link below. You will be able to try it and start for free with this tool. You will be able to get started. There is a free trial here. You will go here. You see on pricing, you can start for free and then it costs you 20 euros per month if you decide to go further. Know that there are two versions. It exists in a cloud version, meaning the tool is already installed and ready to use. If you are a bit more advanced, you can take the self-hosted version. It's a free version. So there are also business plans, but they're on the free version. I also have another video on my channel that explains how install it with Hostinger, for example, in a few clicks. That's a bit more technical. So if you're less technical, choose the cloud version. Nothing prevents you from later switching to a version, how to say self-hosted. So now it is analyzing the results. It takes time because it will retrieve each page and analyze it. And here, for example, we see that we have blogs on Google, but there might not have been results on Amazon yet, and there could be results on Amazon. Well, there you go. And you will realize that if you have already tried to automate this kind of thing, sometimes we encounter blocks, the famous CAPTCHA, proving that you are human. Well, here the automation has to prove it is human. And that will be the second tool we will use called brightdata. So I also provided a link for you to join. And this is a super practical tool that I use whenever I need real-time data. So it has several elements. It has the Unblocker API. So API stands for Application Program Interface. It's what we use when we want to make two programs communicate with each other. So the Unblocker API, that's what will allow you to retrieve the result of any URL without being blocked. It will solve CAPTCHA problems. It will solve issues, for example, with sites protected by Cloudflare, which detects your IP and could block you. Well, that's goodbye. So it handles all that. And there is a second part in this tool that is also super interesting. It's the part about the scrapers. So we have specialized scrapers because sites like, for example, Amazon or LinkedIn have enormous complexity. They also have very advanced protections. And by using these tools, well, there is a marketplace where they have already developed specific scrappers for LinkedIn, for Amazon, for all these platforms, but also for Instagram, for Facebook. For example, on some sites, there are next buttons to see the results that load gradually. So either it can be protections, etc. It can be very tedious if you don't have bright data. It will be very complicated to get the results. So we will go into detail, but here we see it has finished my analysis. So as I told you, I did everything in English, but obviously we can put it in French. So here I remind you that I just put the thermal cameras. The results were retrieved on Google. Then the content of the first 10 pages was extracted, and then I will ask to find the search intent. So it found that it was a commercial search intent, meaning that people are looking to buy this product. Then it tells us what topics you need to cover in the content you will create, then how to differentiate yourself from others. If you make exactly the same content, it will be difficult to rank well. And when I say SEO content, it can be, think of it more as optimized content. That is, when someone types thermal camera, we know Google knows they are looking, that there is a purchase intent. So it can also be useful for your content on social media or for preparing a video, etc. And then I will ask for the different titles, the H2s, the famous H2s, which are the subtitles of a page. So he made some suggestions to me. So how does it work? How are you going to be able to do that? So with N8N, I created this workflow, which is I'll explain the overall functioning, and then we'll go into the different modules. So here we have the chat, which allows me to discuss with. Then we have the chat section. At the beginning, we will use the brightdata node to fetch the results on Google. Then we have a loop. We will retrieve the first 10 pages. We analyze each site. We analyze each page. We have a small bubble here to inform the user so they don't get impatient. They say, darn, it's not working anymore. This way, we see the progression. Then what happens? Once we've done the 10, we summarize the 10 pages and then send the result for display. There you have the overall functioning. If you want, if you don't need to understand more, you could stop the video here, get the resources, and then get started. If you want to understand more about how it works, we will break down the most important parts. That way, you'll better see how it works. Well, this part here, there's no complexity since it's just we put a title, we put a subtitle, and then we put here what we wanted to guide the user, what we wanted them to enter. The only thing perhaps is that this content planner, since there is an active button, is publicly available on the internet. Since this is not intended to be used publicly, I am not sharing the URL in your case. Either you share the URL because it could be a paid service you offer, or you keep it to yourself. Here for the demo, I used it in public mode, but it's not mandatory. So here, the famous brightdata node. Now, I'll skip the step where you need to put your key. That's not complicated. Once you are registered, you have created a resource called Web Unblocker, and you will put your key in it. The Web Unblocker area. In fact, when you are in brightdata, you will click Add here, and then you will say it's an Unblocker API. That takes you to this screen. And the cost, just to remind you, it costs $1.5 for 1,000 requests. And knowing that you only pay for the requests that work, so it's really not expensive. And there, once you've created it, you have an API key. I won't show you my key because it's something private. So you take your key. And no, actually, I'm saying something wrong. It's not the key we take here, since as we use the official brightdata node, it automatically detects my resources. The only place I have my key is here in the permissions. The first time you use this node, if I do more brightdata, so here, this node, if you use it for the first time, it will not be installed. So you simply need to do install node. Since there is a small check mark here, it means it is an official node of brightdata and it is maintained by the company brightdata. And so it means you can proceed with confidence. So we have chosen the resource. We are going to send, so we have different operations. Here, the one that interests us is send a request. Send a request. There, for the demo, as I was saying, it's US. But if we obviously wanted to make the requests in French, we would choose FR here, okay? In this automation, we will use two types of resources from brightdata. We will use the SERP API and then Web Unblocker. So the SERP API. SERP means search engine result page. It's the search engine results. And to create your area here, well, you will simply go to add the SERP API. And there it will scrape the different search engines. So it can be Google, Bing, etc. In our case, we will use Google, but it's not limited to, okay, then here you have the Google search query with the parameter of what the user entered in the chat. So that's it for this node. Then we have a node, simply a technical node where it will retrieve the results and just do an extract. It will retrieve just the information that interests us, the URLs. We can do that with this. We could also have used another node called HTML. Here, we can also do it with this tool. Each time, there are several ways to do it. There, we send a little feedback to the user. We say, hi, we are going to start extracting the pages. And then what happens? Next, we have there, it's a loop. We have a loop that will go through all the pages we retrieved. Here, for example, we see that during the last execution, it retrieved 8 items. So we will loop over the 8. We have 2 paths. We have a first path here where we just keep the URL, and I'll explain what that's for. And then here we're going to retrieve the page. So this time we're using the Web Unblocker with the get method, and there we pass it the page we want to analyze. Okay. We have a small piece of technical code here, similarly, that will clean the HTML code, because when we retrieve a web page, there's everything. There's the header, there's the body, there's the footer, there are scripts, there's CSS, etc. There are things that don't interest us. We extract the HTML, send it here, the simplified HTML, and then I will ask each time to analyze the page. We take the page and I put, there you go, you analyze. So here it's a basic prompt. We could do something much more advanced, but for this demo, this is enough. Which model are we using? So I use either you directly put an OpenAI node in the model here, or I prefer to use OpenRouter. The big advantage is that I have access to all the models, not just those from OpenAI. There are also models from Google, models from Grok, models from, you get it, there are a whole bunch of models. And the output, if you note that I tell it, I need a specific format. I don't want it to respond with here, this is the result, etc., or to ramble. I want the answer in JSON. JSON is a data exchange format between computers. And here I provide my structure. Well, here it's really reduced to something super simple, but it can be when you have lots of fields, etc. It's really practical. Then we inform the user that there is a new visit. So before we have this merge node. So the merge node, simply it will combine the three pieces of information. This way, for the future, we can easily find our information. We have the URL, the page that was scraped, the title, the description. And we also have the analysis that was done by the AI. Okay, so we have all our information. We loop, we do the 10 pages. And there, the limit is simply in your tests. For example, you will limit to one page, for instance. You don't necessarily need everything before it works. Afterwards, you can disable it, and then we reach the final part. So we will aggregate all the results. We receive about 10 results. We aggregate them into a single list. Then we inform the user of where we are, and then we will be on the analysis part. We tell them the keyword we were targeting, and then we send them the SERP results, so the summaries, and then we send him the excerpts from the 10 pages. And I put here a system prompt that you find in the JSON I provide you, where I explain there, I go a bit more into detail. So this is the same. You could completely customize it. There is basically the plan of the response that's there. Okay, at this stage, we could very well tell it, instead of making suggestions, to write a complete article. That's also something possible. And then similarly, I say, if ever there is an error, I inform the user. And there, the last thing is that I simply tell it to format it so that it's pleasant to read. It's a good practice to differentiate use cases when we tell an AI to do an analysis and then to format, adverb, etc. If we give it everything at once, we risk getting worse results than if we separate the tasks. And it's the same by separating the tasks. We see that here I use the GPT-4o model, which is more efficient. And for example, here I used a nano version for classification. Why am I doing this? Why don't I always use the same models? There are several questions. There's the cost. There's a question of cost where nano is cheaper than 4o. You might say, yeah, okay, it's not very expensive. For a query, we're talking about a few dozen or hundreds of a cent. However, when you start having tens, hundreds, thousands of queries, then it starts to add up. And so you will inevitably optimize your costs. And I think we've covered everything. We created this SEO content planner workflow that in real time analyzes the results of the search engine result page of Google and then extracts each of the pages, analyzes them, and makes a summary. So you see, you will be able to customize everything. For example, the messages, simply you go there and then instead of saying scrape, you could say, if you're doing it in French, I scraped this page. And there you see, that's the parameter. There you go. We've covered everything. So in the description, you will find all the information. You will find the link to access an A10, the link to access brightdata. And then you also have my contact details. Within the framework of your business, you wish to automate processes. I help you automate all your processes, whether it's competitive intelligence, research, etc. automation on your e-commerce, like creating product listings in bulk, or for example, on a CRM such as Odoo, I will help you create automatic quotes based on emails that you will receive. Remember to subscribe, to like, so that I can make even more useful content for you.
Hi, see you later. This was Philippe from Inforeol.